Closed captioning is brought to you by Verizon Communications, your guide through the wilds of communication. And by the Yawkey Foundation.
Live from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, NESN presents exclusive coverage of Boston Red Sox baseball. Tonight, Game 2 of a 3-game series between the Red Sox and the Devil Rays. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ballpark. Great to have you with us. I'm Bob Rogers. Now, Pedro Martinez is on the hill tonight, and you might say, well, Pedro hasn't pitched that well against the Devil Rays, but when you look at the numbers, he actually hasn't pitched all that poorly either. Yes, he is winless in his last 3 starts against Tampa Bay. That's the only American League team which has accomplished that feat. But in 5 career starts against the D-Rays, a 2-2 record, not too bad, a 2.75 ERA. Not Pedro-like, but still an outstanding ERA. And in his last 3 starts, despite that 0-2 record, 37 strikeouts in 21 innings. And keep in mind, Tampa Bay is the worst hitting team in the American League. Joined, as always, by Jerry Remy. And Jerry, on the offensive side, Scott Hatteberg has been swinging a pretty hot bat.
Yeah, he has, Bob. You know, when you look back at this season, it's been a strange one for Hatteberg. He obviously is the #2 catcher in the beginning of the year, catching once every 5 days. But recently has been in that designated hitter role and has done very well. Now, the numbers, the first 2 lines, not all that impressive, but he has been doing it for a long time. The impressive number, runners in scoring position, the .309 batting average, and the Red Sox only have 4 players with a batting average over 300 with men in scoring position. So Hatteberg is getting the job done. The thing that has impressed me is he's a dead low ball hitter, and what he's been able to do this year is lay off the high pitches and not get himself out. He's had some very long at-bats, a lot of 3-2 counts, and he's got some clutch hits recently for the Red Sox. So even if you're not catching every day, as long as he's getting his ABs, he's happy and he's contributing.
And he is getting his ABs as Jimmy Williams rolling the dice just a little bit, keeping both Jason Varitek and the starting lineup. Coming up next here on Red Sox Baseball, we will talk with tonight's starting pitcher, Pedro Martinez, as he goes up against Dave Eiiland. Stay with us here on NESN. NESN's exclusive coverage of Boston Red Sox baseball is brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. Log on for low fares at www.southwest.com. Southwest Airlines, a symbol of e-freedom. And by Citizens Bank, not your typical bank. And by Mobile, introducing the fastest way to get gas. Mobile Speed Pass. It's free, and it's only at Mobile. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are, hey, Bearman. Welcome back to Tropicana Field. The Devil Rays with a 7:15 start time, so a special treat tonight. We get to talk to tonight's starter, Pedro Martinez. And Pedro, I'll tell you what, that last start in Kansas City, it wasn't a typical Pedro Martinez performance, but I'll tell you what, I think the legend grows just a little bit with the way you were able to bounce back.
Well, I was really happy myself with the result, especially winning the game. I know that the team won the game, and I gave the team what they were hoping for was some rest to the bullpen, and I think that will help us along the way. I couldn't afford to let my buddies down on the days they need me, and I was really happy to be able to do what they wanted me to do.
That's something about mental toughness. You haven't really had that all that much adversity in your major league career, but to give up 5 runs early takes a lot about mental toughness to stay in the game and pitch the way you did the rest of the way.
Well, out there, I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about the team, and all I want to do is win. And just by seeing the team win the game, after all the struggles early in the game, it was really nice to see that. And also, I mean, I needed to pick up my bullpen, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys to our success at the end of the season. And I mean, my mind, I had to pretty much be perfect to be able to get an out when I was in those first 3 innings. It seemed like everything I threw they could hit, so I had to pretty much stay focused. If not 100%, maybe 101.
And you know everybody gears up for you every time you're out there to pitch. We talked a little bit after that game that night, and you were saying that maybe the travel has something to do with it. You're not sure really why, but when you pitch the day after you travel, it seems to be a little bit more difficult for you to get your feet under you.
Through my career, I experienced that. I don't adjust well to jet lag, and you know, the last 2 outings has really shown me that I don't adjust well. I had something happen to me that had never happened in my career, and I could have probably ended up hurt if I kept pitching on that game and back in Boston. And in Kansas City now was another typical game after a traveling day.
And I guess the big question everybody back at home really wants to know is, how do you feel? Are you healthy? This stiff shoulder, is that all behind you now? You feel real good?
No, I'm actually really good. The problem is that sometimes you could be as sharp as you want, and if you don't sleep right or you don't do the things that you need to do, because you don't really rest on the day you pitch or you know, one day before. You rest actually the night before the game or the night before the night you pitch. You need to get your plenty of rest and just be ready for the next day, or have one day in between. And I haven't been able to do that in the last 2 outings, and it's being hard.
And just very quickly, I know it must be special that Ramon is back in the starting rotation. That's something you must be looking forward to.
Yes, I'm really happy to see Ramon, but at the same time, I feel bad for Wakefield. Wakefield has been our pillow when we need somebody, you know, to hold on for us, and I feel bad for Wakey having to come out of the rotation, and I wish we could give him the chance back to be back in the rotation. He's also a good starter. I know that he's a winner, regardless of the result. I mean, you have to see that Wakey is a good outer. I mean, out there, and he's going to give you a quality outing, and he's going to give you a lot of support in everything you make him do out there.
All right, Pedro, thanks a lot. Through the magic of television, Pedro will be all warmed up and ready to pitch next here on Nessing. The starting lineups and the first pitch next, coming up after this. Back at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, Pedro has just completed his warm-up tosses, and he's now on his way into the Red Sox dugout, set to take on the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, trying to snap his string of 3 straight starts without a win against the D-Rays. The only team in the American League which has gone 3 straight games without losing to Pedro. In the National League, a couple of teams have done that. San Diego actually went 5 games without getting defeated by Pedro. He says he feels good, and he doesn't usually say a lot about his performances, but he too was impressed with how things unfolded in Kansas City. So since last we have talked, this is the way the standings shape up now in the American League East. The Red Sox deficit grows to 5 games. The Yankees winners last night against the Seattle Mariners, and watch out for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're 2 games back of the Red Sox in the loss column, but just a half game back overall, 5.5 behind the Yankees. And there you see Baltimore and Tampa Bay trying to stay out of the basement. Tampa Bay 2 games back of the O's. In the American League wildcard race, Cleveland on top by a half game, but it's what's happening below the top spot which is really starting to take some notice. The Red Sox and Athletics a half game out. The Blue Jays just 1 game back. Anaheim is right there, and just below Anaheim, the Detroit Tigers are still lurking and still alive in the wild card race as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays take the field for game 2 of this 3-game series between the Red Sox and the D-Rays. Starting lineups for tonight. The Red Sox managed by Jimmy Williams. This is the way it goes. Trot Nixon is in the leadoff spot tonight. He's in right field. Brian Daubach has been red hot, a 6-game hitting streak. He's at first. Carl Everett's average has dipped to 303. He's in center. Nomar's at short. Troy O'Leary in left field. Scott Hatteberg is the designated hitter. Lou Merloni at third base. Jason Varitek behind the plate. And Mike Lansing gets the start tonight at second.
And the defense tonight for Tampa Bay, a little bit different than last night. Aubrey Hupp will be at third base. Eiiland gets the start at shortstop. Miguel Cairo, who had the home run against Pedro, he's at second base. Fred McGriff over at first. Left to right, Steve Cox, Gerald Williams, and Jose Guillen, who's got a tremendously strong throwing arm out there in right field. John Flaherty behind the plate. And on the mound, right-handed Dave Eiiland. Been kind of a disastrous season for Eiiland. He spent a lot of it on the disablers. Actually went on there May 23rd and didn't return till August 9th. He had a bad left hip, and he's working today on 2 days rest. He pitched in relief against Baltimore on Saturday, 4 1/3 innings, but he told his manager that he was okay to make the start here tonight against the Red Sox. In his career, 1-1 with an ERA of over 6 against Boston lifetime.
And the umpires for tonight, Phil Cousy. Doesn't spell it the same way as Bob Cousy. Phil Cousy behind the plate. Paul Schreiber is at first. Tim McClelland at second. And Ed Rapuano is at third.
Sullivan Tire keys to the game. The Devil Rays, 242 batting average this month, lowest in the American League, although they pitch very well. The Red Sox averaging 4 runs per game versus the Rays this season. There's a good example of the Devil Ray pitching against the Red Sox. And the Red Sox only 264 with runners in scoring position. That's the 4th lowest total in the American League. And as we talked about in the open and also the pregame show, they only have 4 hitters in the lineup that are hitting over 300 with men in scoring position. Nixon, O'Leary, Hatteberg, Garcia, Parra. Maloney's also over 300, but doesn't have that many at-bats.
And Trot Nixon will not hit with a runner in scoring position to start the game because he's in the leadoff spot tonight for the Red Sox, as Jimmy Williams once again juggles that lineup just a little bit and puts Nixon into the top spot. He's hitting .282, 8 home runs, 47 RBI. Dave Eiiland set to work for Larry Rothschild and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. First pitch of the night misses low. Called strike. It's 1-1. Nixon went 1 for 3 last night. He had a double, riding a modest 3-game hitting streak. He's 3 for his last 10. On the trip, he's 3 for 18.
Not going to see anything overpowering tonight from Eiiland. He just kind of tries to spot his fastball and rely a lot on his breaking pitches, the curveball, slider, and also the changeup.
Well off the plate, and Nixon is in the driver's seat at 3-1. It's been a while since Trot Nixon has gone deep. He hasn't hit a home run since June 23rd. At Toronto, the 3-1. Catches the corner, and it's a full count.
That fastball only clocked at 84 miles an hour for Dave Eiiland.
And he likes to hit at the top of the order. .314 with 6 of his 8 home runs in either the first or second spot in the order. And he sends that one down the first base line. McGriff to the backhand. Gets up and gets it to the pitcher for the out. Nice play by the crime dog down there at first.
So McGriff got a late jump on this ground ball and then had to go into a dive. The toughest play for a left-handed first baseman is this play, going across his body and diving toward that first base line. And then he gives a good flip to Eiiland, doing his job covering the bag. First base was made for lefties. That is the only play that was not made for lefties at first base, to have to go to the backhand down the line.
The only place they let him play in the infield. Every once in a while at the lower levels, you'll see a lefty someplace else, but not usually. Here's Brian Dauber. Dauber's been red hot. He's hitting .264 overall, 20 home runs, 71 RBI. He is one of those streaks right now. Takes a big swing and a miss. He went 2 for 4 last night, had a solo home run. Against Eiiland, he has hit well. 5 for 7, a .714 clip with 3 doubles. Down on the count of 0-2 here, and that one a waste pitch. It's 1-2. Strikes that one off. The count hangs at 1-2. He was hitting well before the Red Sox left for the trip. And on the trip, he has continued to hit well. 9 for 20 with 3 home runs and 3 doubles. Again, the 1-2. Oh, borderline strike at best. Looked like it was outside. Daubach doesn't like it, but he's called out on strikes.
Well, Bob Cousy wouldn't have been able to call like that against the Red Sox,
No.
but Phil Cousy will. Fastball tailing away from Daubach. How to tell if that was a fastball or a slider, a backdoor slider. Tough to tell from that camera angle, but it's certainly Daubach thinking it was outside. He will not win that battle, though. I promise you that.
No, but I think he is correct. That was not good. Here's Carl Everett. Swings at the first pitch and drives it to left center. Back goes Gerald Williams. He'll watch that as it bounces against the wall out there. Everett hits second. He's on his way to third. Here comes the play at third, and Everett is in there with a triple. Well, aggressive base running by Carl Everett and aggressive hitting as well as he swings at the first pitch.
Everett picks up his 4th triple of the season. That pitch down, Everett a good low ball hitter, and he hits it to the deepest part of Tropicana Field, and it stays in play. It'll short off the fence and carry him right to Gerald Williams. Everett put in another speed right here as he heads into third base with the head first slide. You have to be absolutely sure with 2 outs if you're going to go to third base, and apparently Everett was very sure that he could make it. Takes a beating. He slides a lot head first, tears up his elbows, his arms, his stomach. He's had to wear the goggles because he gets dirt in his eye, but that's just the way he plays.
A little shaken up after that run. A little winded, little scraped up, and he's ready to go, though, as Nomar steps into the batter's box. Garciaparra tries to deliver him, swings at the first pitch and pops it up. On the infield, Ozzie Guillen is there, and he has it for the final out of the inning. So again, the Red Sox will strand a runner in scoring position. The 2-out triple by Carl Everett goes for naught. We have played a half an inning, and there's no score. Back at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, the Red Sox playing game 2 of this 3-game series against the Devil Rays. Tampa Bay taking game 1 last night, snapping a late 2-2 tie and defeating the Red Sox. This is the way Larry Rothschild will send them up tonight against Pedro Martinez. Gerald Williams, the leadoff hitter in center field. Miguel Cairo, who has had some success against Pedro over the years, bats second and plays second. Greg Vaughn is the designated hitter. Fred McGriff is at first base. Steve Cox in left field. Aubrey Huff at third base. Jose Guillen in right. John Flaherty behind the plate. And Ozzie Guillen is the shortstop.
And the defense tonight for the Red Sox, Lou Maloney at third base, Garciaparra the shortstop, Mike Lansing back at second base, and Brian Daubach at first. Left to right, O'Leary, Everett, and Nixon. Jason Varitek behind the plate. And on the mound, Pedro Martinez. Pedro last time out, 5 runs in that first inning. That's the first time that's happened to him since back in 1995 when he was with Montreal in a game against Houston. And of course, a no decision against Tampa Bay last time that he faced them 4 innings, and he left with that stiff shoulder. So I would imagine Pedro will be up for a little revenge tonight in this ball game against the Devil Rays.
He has a lot of reason for revenge against Tampa Bay. He's had some tough luck against this ball club. First batter he faces is Gerald Williams. Leadoff hitter with some good power, 20 home runs. He's hitting .283 with 82 runs driven in. It's Williams, Cairo, and Greg Vaughn against Pedro. Pedro's ahead in the count 1-2.
Pedro started Williams off with a curveball. The last time he faced him, he started him with a fastball, and Williams picked up a base hit.
Williams 1 for 4 last night. The 1-2, and he hit him. Tries to bust him inside, and Williams with a long stare out at Pedro. And now here he goes. Gerald Williams charges Pedro Martinez, and here we go. Brian Daubach was just slammed at the mound, behind the mound, and still is that Roberto Hernandez going after Brian Daubach. Somebody's going to get over there to help Dauber. Gerald Williams is still hot, and Brian Daubach looks like he's injured. Jim Rice now trying to contain Williams. Jerry, I don't know if any of those punches landed, but Williams just didn't charge the mound. He came out swinging.
I don't think they landed. I think he just knocked him backwards. And you could almost see that happening. They beat up on Pedro last time. Pedro come back in, and he hits Gerald Williams, the first batter of the game, after getting ahead of him. And Williams goes right to the mound.
Well, it was a 1-2 pitch.
There's still some rumbling around going out there. Daubach is hurt bad. I couldn't tell what happened to him. I think he got slammed to the ground by somebody.
I'd like to see that whole thing unfold again, because Roberto Hernandez was really going after Daubach after Daubach was all alone with about 4 double rays going after him.
Well, my guess is he's in there trying to protect the pitcher. Everybody charges toward the mound to try to protect the pitcher, and somebody must have blindsided him or something happened. Pedro should not be thrown out of this ball game, but certainly Williams should be.
Right. No way should Pedro be thrown out.
Williams is still acting down there like he wants to get at Pedro, so they're going to have to keep their eye on him. He's not likely to go to the clubhouse easy.
And we could be in for an interesting night here at Tropicana Field. Daubach looks like he's going to stay in the game, so hopefully he's not injured. Now Jimmy Williams wants to talk to the umpires, find out what they want to do. Obviously there will be warnings issued. Williams is not heading into the clubhouse yet. He's standing against the front side of the dugout. Clearly he has to be ejected. Back as well. He's pretty hot. And Tommy Harper is holding back Jose Arfman along the third base line. Daubach is playing catch, and he looks like he's okay. His heart had to be pounding, Jerry, with Roberto Hernandez looking down at him.
Well, they better be careful right now, because Williams is still loose out there, and he may be in the frame of mind to go charging back out to the mound. So they better be careful and take care of Pedro here.
Well, I don't know why they don't have Williams.
He should be gone already. He should be out of here already.
Larry Rothschild should not allow Williams to just hang on. Williams is going to run. How could he not be ejected?
He's got to be out of the game.
There is no way Gerald Williams can be allowed to stay in the ball game.
If I were those Red Sox infielders right now, I would be surrounding that mound, because Martinez is out there by himself, and you never know what Williams might do.
Look where Trot Nixon is standing. I think Trot would pick him off in a hurry. And now Tim McClellan comes over to talk to Rothschild.
The only guy ejected from the game should be Gerald Williams for charging the mound.
Pedro does have a reputation of going inside and pitching aggressively, let's say, but a 1-2 count. Perhaps it was payback for the last time these
There's
two
no
teams
question
played.
Pedro's trying to send a message here. I mean, you know, he got roughed up by these guys last time out, left the game with a stiff shoulder. There's no question he's trying to send a message.
But send a message to hit him or send a message to knock him down?
Send a message to go inside and knock him down, and sometimes you hit him.
Right. Let's watch it again. And up and in, and you could see Gerald Williams looking at his hand. And we'll watch more of it in just a bit, but let's see how this is all going to sort out here. Larry Rothschild is arguing with Tim McClellan.
See, they can't throw Pedro out of the game because this game just started, and there's no reason to have them believe that he intentionally threw at him. Now, if thing continues on that way, somebody else is going to get ejected, but Williams has to go. He's the only guy in this situation that has to go.
And I think that is going to be the decision because Larry Rothschild is not happy. I think when he gets the word, they better be around Gerald Williams when he finds out that he's been ejected. And he's pointing out at Pedro as if to say Pedro should be ejected. And you know what? Rothschild may not be too far behind. And he is. He's gone. Ejected. Rothschild gives his cap a boot, and now he points at Gerald Williams and tells him to come on in. At least I believe that's what he was pointing at. Although Williams is still standing at first base as if he's staying in the ball game.
Now Rothschild's yelling at Pedro Martinez.
And Pedro lets one go in his direction.
I'm telling you, you still got to watch out for Williams.
He should be watching this game from the clubhouse. And I believe they're trying to convince him to leave first base. And here comes Rothschild, I believe, to go get Williams. Ozzie Guillen is pleading with him. And yes, Rothschild is telling him, let's go. And Williams doesn't want to go. Of this series, and don't forget the Red Sox close out the season back here in Tampa Bay.
Well, this is only the beginning tonight. I'm sure there's much more to come.
Red Sox are fighting for a playoff spot. This is certainly not something that they want to see. The last thing you want to see is anyone charging Pedro. And we saw Brian Daubach holding his arm. He's been one of the hotter hitters. Don't want to lose him. And if this turns into a bean brawl, you're facing possible suspensions.
Well, as soon as Pedro comes inside on anybody from this point on right now, I'm sure it's going to be a ejection from the ball game. And I would imagine both teams have been warned. Williams still hanging out. Watch out. Tim McCullough over there, he's not going to let this game start until Williams leaves the dugout.
And Rothschild will likely hang in the runway and still lead his charges the rest of this game. And he was really going after Pedro from the dugout. Let's watch it again. Let's watch the whole series of events. Again, remember, it was a 1-2 count. Comes up and in. You can see Williams thinking about it and said, you know what? I'm not going to think about it anymore. Pedro tries to get the ball. Pedro wasn't even looking when Williams came out after him. Jason Varitek leveled him. Daubach comes into.
And Daubach got hurt underneath that pile there. I don't think it was anything that anybody did. He got hurt underneath the pile, his shoulder, and then they started pulling him out.
Yeah, no, but what was Roberto Hernandez's act? Because
he's just going in there trying to pull people off. Most of the injuries happen at the bottom of that pile in there, and that's what appears what happened at Daubach. Then they're just trying to pull people away.
There have been instances of teams in playoff hunts over the years. Teams losing valuable players during those kinds of incidents. And the Devil Rays thinking about sacrificing early with Miguel Cairo up. Jason Tyner, who figured prominently in the game last night, will go in place of Gerald Williams. Again, Cairo shows bunt, takes it. It's 1-1.
Now you can bet that the rest of this game, anything that's inside that is close to being a knockdown pitch, I'm sure Pedro will be thrown out of the ball game.
And that puts Pedro at a distinct disadvantage because he's a pitcher that obviously works inside. Nice pick by Daubach. Everybody in the ballpark's all charged up now, too. Everybody was excited anyway to watch Pedro pitch, and they're getting a little bit more for their money. Miguel Cairo 5 for 15 in his career against Pedro. Of course, he hit that 3-run home run at Fenway. Here's the 1-1. There goes the runner. Little hit and run, and they hit it right in the direction of Garciaparra, who makes a nice play across his body to throw out Cairo.
Well, how about that play? Nomar on the hit and run draws the coverage of going to second base, and he had to just stop, put on the brakes, get back to make the play in the ground ball, and still throw Cairo out at first base. What a terrific play by Garciaparra, and throw a strike from that angle. But by starting the man at first base, they stay away from the deuce and get a man in a scoring position.
So that works the same as a sacrifice as Greg Vaughn steps up with Jason Tyner in scoring position. Vaughn hitting .265, 23 home runs, 59 RBI. He went 1 for 4 last night with a double. Fred McGriff waits on deck.
What'll be interesting now is when the Red Sox come to the plate.
Who do they hit?
If they're going to have a little retaliation against them. But if both clubs have been warned, that means Eiiland would go. But of course, that wouldn't be like losing Martinez.
No, and I don't think at this point Larry Rothschild would care too much about that. As a matter of fact, there was some question in this game about who would start. Corey Lytle thought he was going to get the start and didn't find out until last night that Dave Eiiland has been moved up on just 2 days rest. Works inside. It's 2-1.
Well, it certainly got the attention of both teams. If you look in the dugouts right now, both teams are right at the top step, hovering over the railing. Nobody's sitting back.
And the Tampa Bay dugout still jawing at Pedro as Vaughn swings and misses. I don't think Rothschild for a moment thought that Jared Williams should stay in the game. I think it was more about Pedro.
No, he wanted Pedro thrown out of the ball game, but you can't in the first inning like this say that he's intentionally throwing at anybody. I mean, he's trying to come up and in. If you do notice, and I'm not trying to defend this, but if you notice Williams, he is out over the plate and he kind of dives into the ball. So it's almost impossible for the umpire to say he's intentionally thrown at him and thrown out of the game. Rothschild just trying to protect his player, protect his club by getting that argument, himself getting thrown out. But it set it up for the next game, next couple of games here.
The 2-2. Strike 3, the first strikeout of the night for Pedro. And Vaughn has a few words.
Pedro with the fastball away. It'll tail back on the outside corner. Veritek doesn't have to move the mitt very much, so apparently a good call by Kuzi, the home plate umpire. I'm thinking the ball's too high. It didn't seem to be too high.
Emotions are running high and hot. Here's Fred McGriff. Swings at the high heat. McGriff with 43 career at-bats against Pedro. And 12 hits. He's hitting .279.
No, one thing Pedro has shown anyway here is he is going to go back inside. He went inside with a fastball to Vaughn, and he just went inside again to McGriff. So he is still going to pitch his game. If he comes too far inside, he leaves it in the hands of the umpire.
Fouled straight back. It's 1-2.
You know, they talk about Pedro, of course, being a headhunter in the National League, and he did throw at a lot of guys in the National League early in his career, but he also had to go to the plate, so he hasn't changed a bit. They can't say it's only because he's in the American League. He did the same thing in the National League, and he go to the plate, and he took his lumps at the plate.
Absolutely. The 1-2 just misses. 2-2. Well, you have to pitch inside. It's a whole mentality. He was able to knock down Williams on that pitch. Let's say he doesn't hit him. Now he set something up away from the plate.
If he'd have knocked down Williams, he might have got the same result. Devil Rays know what happened last time they played, too. They got some early runs off him.
The 2-2, strike 3, and Pedro ends the inning. That's the way to respond. 97 miles an hour as Pedro blows it past Fred McGriff, and an eventful first inning finally comes to an end. No score.
Ahead of Frank Thomas. Troy Glass one ahead of Tony Batista. And Tony Batista 2 ahead of David Justice, the top 5 in the American League.
Jason Tyner, who came in to pinch run for Gerald Williams, who was ejected after charging Pedro Martinez. Tyner stays in the game and plays center field. Pedro gets the K's. Williams was looking for the KO. Came out swinging.
Well, actually, he went out and he pushed Pedro, and then Pedro took the first swing that didn't hit him. And then there was another swing that hit, kind of grazed Pedro, but he basically got knocked back. And that's when the big pileup started.
And that was just on tape. It was Tim McClellan reminding Dave Eiiland that both teams have been warned. Let's see how long it's going to take him to retaliate. Again, the Devil Rays just playing out the string here. They really have nothing to lose. O'Leary swings at the first pitch. Sends it to Miguel Cairo. 1 out.
Well, one thing you don't do all the time is retaliate right away. Sometimes it's better to let the thing drag on and let the other team wonder when you're going to retaliate. There's no question there'll probably be something here before the weekends, before the 2 games are out. But if you do it right away, it's too obvious. You might pick a certain guy that you may want to go after. You just kind of wait around, and it keeps in the back of the mind of those hitters, when is it going to come?
Scott Hatterberg, the hitter. Again, the designated hitter for the Red Sox. Getting more playing time, more at-bats. I would think, Jerry, that since it was Pedro that hit him, one of the star players in the Red Sox, that Nomar might be a target.
You never know. And you never know when it's going to come. It may necessarily be from this pitcher here. It may be tomorrow.
Strike 2, 2-2. Lou Merloni's on deck. A few extra fans here in the stands for this ball game tonight because Pedro is pitching. The 2-2 lifted high in the air to right field. Jose Guillen barely moves. Now he does and hauls it in.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised that that could be a serious injury for Gerald Williams. That looked to hit him right on the hand of the wrist, and that's a pretty lively fastball that hit him. I wouldn't be surprised he'd have to be off for some x-rays, and that thing could be broke. He could have a broken bone in there. We'll have to wait and see on that. But that's a very vulnerable spot to get hit in.
Here's Lou Merloni, 321, 9 RBI. That was a 94-mile-an-hour pitch that hit Gerald Williams. Pedro showing some life on his fastball tonight.
Showed a little more life, too, after the altercation.
Yes, he did. Back up to the middle. Goes off the pitcher. And Ozzie Guillen can't handle it. So Merloni will have a base hit.
Got a piece of Dave Eiiland. We'll have to see exactly where he got hit with this. Looks like it right off the right arm. And he has already had his share of injuries this season. The bad hip that had him on the DL for a couple of months. Apparently okay. Looks like Bill Russell has taken over the ball club as the acting manager for Larry Rothschild. Bill Russell, of course, from that Dodger organization.
Managed the Dodgers before getting fired, and some say he will resurface someplace in baseball as a manager.
He did tonight.
Well, absolutely. Some people think he might be on that spot next year in that dugout. Here's Jason Varitek. 263, 9 home runs, 58 driven in. I don't know, one school of thought says you can rattle facing an opposing team's ace, do what you can do to rattle them, but another thing is don't pull a tiger's tail either, and you might get Pedro a little bit angry. The 0-2 to Varitek. He fights it off, sends it to shortstop Guillen, over to McGriff for the final out of the inning. So the infield hit by Lou Merlone goes for naught, and we've played 1.5, still no score.
Back in St. Pete, no score as we move to the bottom of the second. With the final month of baseball upon us, the Red Sox are battling hard for their 3rd straight playoff appearance. Come to the park on Thursday, September 7th, when the Red Sox make up a rained-out game against the Twins at 1:05. There are still plenty of good seats available, so call 482-4SOX or log on to RedSox.com to purchase tickets 24 hours a day. That's 617-482-4SOX.
Pedro Martinez into his 2nd inning of work. 2 strikeouts in the 1st inning. Struck out Greg Vaughn and Fred McGriff back-to-back to end the threat. He will face Steve Cox, Aubrey Huff, and Jose Guillen. Cox hitting .282, 8 home runs, 28 driven in. Lifted in the air to left field. O'Leary goes back, drifts back. On the warning track up against the wall, he makes the catch.
Well, a lot of time when you make good solid contact against Pedro, he provides a lot of the power with the fastball. And Cox will run Troy O'Leary all the way back to the wall for the first out here in the 2nd. O'Leary kind of got caught backpedaling on that, and that's not really a good position to be in, drifting after the ball.
Here's Aubrey Huff. Takes the first pitch just inside, 95 miles an hour. Huff hitting .328, 3 home runs, 9 driven in. Big swing and a miss. Back into the seats. Huff went 2 for 4 last night, had a double, scored 2 runs. Playing in his 28th game since being promoted from AAA Durham. The 1-2 inside. Again, the 2-2 pitch from Pedro Martinez inside, ball 3. He's showing no signs of being afraid to pitch inside. Trying to get him on the changeup. And they do. 3rd strikeout for Pedro.
Varitek wanted that changeup about 2 pitches ago, but Pedro wanted to keep busting inside with the fastball. Finally, they go to the changeup, and way out in front is Huff.
So with 2 outs, the right fielder Jose Guillen will hit. Or stand in the box and try to hit. He's hitting .267, 9 home runs, 38 driven in. Taps out one in the box. Jerry, I think that Vince Namoli has struck again. I think some fans from Boston are here. They were hanging the K's out by Wade Boggs' jersey in right field. Now you see a security guard up there has come up and made him take him down. They're putting him on the chairs.
Well, it is a little upsetting to the home team when somebody is trying to put up their own strikeouts in their own home ballpark.
Misses outside. 2-2. Strike 3, Pedro got him. His 4th strikeout of the game. As Guillen will argue, but to no avail as Pedro keeps Tampa Bay off the scoreboard through 2. We have played 2, still no score.
Back in Tampa, not in Tampa, but actually in St. Pete. Let's take a look at the Applebee's American League complete game leaders. David Wells with 7, Pedro at 6, Mike Messina with 5, and Albie Lopez will be pitching in tomorrow night, and Sidney Ponson both tied with 4.
Here it is again. That one may have landed.
I don't think any of them landed. They just grazed. I think it was more of a pushback than anything else. It looked like it started with a push and then kind of a slap by Pedro, and then Williams tried to punch him and I think missed him. I think just maybe grazed him, and then everybody just piled on.
But Williams was coming out swinging after that. He threw a few. The number 9 hitter, Mike Lansing, to lead off the 3rd. Lansing, Nixon, and Daubach as the Red Sox go to the top of the order. Lansing up in front of that one. 0-2. He has really struggled offensively since joining the Red Sox. Checked his swing. 1-2. He has just 2 hits in his last 24 at-bats. But he has 3 hits now in his last 25 at-bats. He goes back up the middle to start the 3rd.
Well, Red Sox now with 3 hits in the ball game. The triple by Everett, Maloney with the single off the pitcher, and Lansing with the line drive up the middle for the base hit. Got the fastball there in the 1-2 count and put it on a line. Trying to go away with the fastball from Lansing, but he covers the outside corner and hits it right up the middle for the base hit. Red Sox looking for a hot hand at second base. Jose Offerman has been struggling recently. Lansing has been struggling. Lansing does not have a steal yet with the Red Sox, but had 8 in his time at Colorado.
Trot Nixon grounded out to Fred McGriff his first time up. Well, there was some concern when the Red Sox acquired Mike Lansing that he did not hit well away from Coors Field. He had a much better average at home than he did on the road. But he has shown throughout his major league career that he is pretty good offensive second baseman. And he's off. And Nixon goes with a pitch right through the vacated hole. Lansing on his way to 3rd. Here comes the play, the throw off line, and the hit and run works to perfection.
Well, they had the right coverage in the infield with the shortstop covering because it was a breaking ball from Eiiland. So that would mean you would think the hitter's going to pull the ball, but a great job here by Nixon as he'll take it in that vacant hole, and they play a little 1st and 3rd action. The correct coverage by the infielders is just a good hitting there by Trot Nixon.
So the Red Sox with consecutive hits to open the 3rd. Lansing on third, Nixon on first. Nobody out for Brian Daubach. Struck out looking at a questionable third strike his first time up. And they go head hunting.
Oh, there's the guy they're going after.
I'm surprised nothing's been done.
Kind of a strange time to do it. First and third situation with nobody out. But you remember, Daubach is the guy that was pulled out of the pile and the guy that was being lectured to by Hernandez. So apparently Daubach's the guy they want.
That's at his head.
Now, don't bait it, Pedro. Don't get baited into knocking somebody down or hitting somebody again, because you're going to be out of the ball game.
Again inside. He was hit, and let's see what happens. Consecutive pitches inside to Brian Daubach, and he should be ejected. He's not going to be.
Harmless right there. They've already ejected Gerald Williams from the game, and a harmless hit by pitch as it just got a piece of the uniform, so they're going to let it ride.
But that following the pitch up over his head.
Now that's the one. Had that hit him, obviously he'd be out of the game. But this is, you know, just got a piece of the side, so we'll let it ride.
But do you think he was trying to hit him?
Probably so. I don't understand it either in this situation, but obviously the guy, Daubach's the guy they targeted.
I don't know why they're so irritated about Brian Daubach. All he did was go into the pile to try to help break it up.
Yeah, but you don't know what goes on in that pile. That's the problem. We can't see what he did in that pile. He may have done something in there that they didn't like. That's what we don't know.
That's true. But where Roberto Hernandez was, I don't know. Daubach went in.
He was right there. Hernandez was right behind him, pulling him off.
Well, Daubach went in, and as soon as he went in, he grabbed his wrist as if maybe he jammed it a little bit. So Everett bats with the bases loaded now. So from a strategy point of view, it's not the best time to hit a batter. Lansing on third. Nixon on second. Daubach on first. Nobody out in the third inning. Big swing by Everett and a miss. 1-2.
This has the potential in the next two games to become very, very ugly. You never know how these things are going to break.
Everett down the right field line. That will score two. On comes Nixon. Lansing has scored. Daubach to third. Everett has a double, and the Red Sox have a 2-0 lead.
Right now, Kyle Everett primed to have a huge night for the Red Sox. He's already got the triple, now the double right down the first base line. Anytime they stay below the belt with Everett, they're making a major mistake. That's twice on low pitches tonight. He's hit the ball hard for the triple, and now the double to drive in a couple of runs. If their intention was to hit Daubach, and I'm still not even convinced of that, it wasn't the smartest time to do it.
Here's Garciaparra.
There you go.
And they hit Garciaparra, and now Dave Eiiland is ejected.
Yeah, that's intentional. First base open. That's intentional. First base wide open.
And you could kind of see Phil Cousy, when Daubach was hit, kind of thinking to himself, was that intentional?
See, now the thing that concerns me is you've just had your best Red Sox player hit, and I hope Pedro does not come out now and try to protect Garciaparra. It's not the time for it. Pitch the ball game, win the ball game. And here's Eiiland now pointing toward the other dugout. You're not that good.
You're absolutely right, Jerry, and somebody has to get to Pedro and make sure he understands and sees the big picture here.
Now that's what Jimmy's talking to him right now about. You know, this has happened before with Pedro, protecting
his teammates. He can't do it now. You've got to wait. And that's what Jimmy's telling him right now. You've got to wait. Let's end this stuff right now. Let's win a ball game.
Jimmy's doing his best to convince Pedro, but we remember, I think it was the Cleveland game, Jerry, in which the same circumstance came up and Jimmy told him don't hit him.
This one I'm not sure. I mean, obviously that's a knockdown pitch to Daubach, but this is harmless here. Okay, but there's no question after the double with first base open and Garciaparra coming up. Bingo. And the umpire did the right thing.
Garciaparra just smiles and says, you're not going to get me getting into something.
Well, you know why you smile? Because it's better getting hit by a guy like Eiiland, who throws 84, than a guy like Pedro, who can throw 97. Umpires are doing the best right now to control this, and hopefully Pedro will keep it under control. Take some advice from your brother.
And that is one of the benefits of having Ramon Martinez with the team, because of all the guys in Red Sox uniform tonight, he's the one guy that can really talk to Pedro.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, Pedro is his own man, and you just don't know what he's going to do. But hopefully he learned his lesson in that Cleveland situation earlier in the season. The win tonight is more important than protecting Garciaparra, who just got hit basically in a harmless pitch.
The Cleveland situation ended up costing Pedro an extra day's rest, as he was suspended for his actions in that game. And the Red Sox certainly don't want to lose even a day of Pedro.
And Eiiland screaming over at the Red Sox dugout after he was ejected, and that kind of drew a few laughs.
Everyone a little more involved tonight. So Corey Lytle, who was supposed to pitch tonight anyway, will do it, as the Verizon wireless call to the bullpen is answered by Lytle, in relief of Dave Eiiland, who has been ejected. Just another ho-hum night at the ballpark. The Red Sox are up 2-0 in the third.
Well, plenty of action here in St. Pete tonight, and it's a 2-0 Red Sox lead. We're still in the top of the third inning. Have we got news for you? It's ESPN News, and it's coming up following the game here on Nesson. Of course, they'll have all the baseball highlights, plus the very latest from the Patriots and the rest of the NFL as the countdown to the season openers continues. That's ESPN News tonight on Nesson.
And gee, do you think this game will be on ESPN News? Probably the lead story. So Tampa Bay has to call on a new pitcher as he gets as much warm-up time as he wants.
And as Corey Lytle, who was maybe going to start this game tonight if Eiiland couldn't go on his 2 days rest, making his 25th appearance overall, a record of 1-5. He's been up and down from the big leagues to the minor leagues on a number of occasions. Matter of fact, this is his 4th trip to the major league club this year. Spent a lot of it at Durham, and he has just been warned by the home plate umpire.
And Jerry, have we warned the opposing broadcasters? Do we need to warn them?
No, everybody up here is friendly. We all get along. We just try to do the best we can, providing information in the game for our fans at home. But if they're going to eject anybody, I wish they'd throw me out.
Bases loaded for the Red Sox. And Troy O'Leary, a good hitter over his career with the bases packed. He grounded out to second his first time up. Lays off that pitch.
This is getting tough to follow, you know. I mean,
a lot going on early. Daubach, the runner on third. Everett's on second. Nomar Garciaparra at first. Troy O'Leary, the hitter. And this time last night, we were in about the 6th inning. A lot more happening here tonight at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Count for O'Leary to hit with the bases loaded. It's a little tapper down to third. They'll come home with it for one. And that's all they'll get. And yes, John Flaherty was standing on the plate.
Only play that Aubrey Huff had was to come home and really had no chance. Ball not hit hard enough to get the double play. So John Flaherty, the catcher, will just make himself a first baseman and get the one out. Didn't even take a look down to first base. Knew because of the way the ball was hit, they had no chance.
That is the first out of the inning. And the bases are still loaded. 2 runs home here in the third. Scott Hatteberg, .350 over his career with the bases loaded, 7 for 20. 1 career grand slam. He has 20 RBI. Flew out to right field his first time up.
A lot of games left with Tampa Bay, don't we? We have this series, and we come back and finish the season here in Tampa Bay, and with these type of feelings, it'll be an interesting 5 games left.
And those games could be very important for the Red Sox that final week of the season. 90-mile-an-hour fastball hits the inside corner. It's 1-1.
Remember Hernandez, because he came in with a lot of venom and was pulled the Daubach out of that pile and was almost like lecturing him. So he may be the type of guy who would, if he has an opportunity, try to even things up.
And he can bring it. Hatteberg down to McGriff at first, and it bounces foul. Well, like you said, Jerry, you just don't know what happens in there, but I'd like to know what happened, because I don't know what prompted the way Roberto Hernandez reacted. And at one point, it was kind of a scary moment for Brian Daubach. He was surrounded by 3 or 4 Devil Rays, all alone on the base path between first and second.
Why don't you do a rookie thing and go down and ask Roberto tomorrow what he was lecturing him about?
I'll go down after the game. That's a rookie move.
It'd be the last time.
The 1-2 lays off the pitch. It's 2-2. I'll ask him. I'll say Jerry Remy wanted to know. So yeah, Jerry Remy was wondering. Why'd you have to
Actually, I
act
could
like
care
that?
less. I really don't care.
Hatteberg with the 2-2 pitch. Looks at strike 3.
Now, Guzzi, the home plate umpire, I think has done a heck of a job in this game trying to control it, first of all. And the other thing he's done is he's been very generous on the corners for both sides. You're going to see a lot of hitters looking back tonight, but the reason is he's got a fairly wide strike zone, but he's been consistent with it.
And I don't know if Lou Merlone may have been shaken up in that whole exchange, but Manny Alexander will hit for Merlone. Try to get word on that. Two runs home, but the Red Sox are in position to maybe let this big inning get away from them. The 1-0 to Alexander, lift to short second, and he moves in to get it as Miguel Cairo picks it off. So Corey Lytle comes on and does a fine job for the Devil Rays, comes on with the bases loaded and nobody out, and he gets 3 straight to keep it right here at 2-0 as we go to the home half of the third. Chain of command. Well, first we'll tell you that Manny Alexander stays in the game and plays third base. Just like Alexander Haig. I am now in charge. It's Orlando Gomez now in charge of the Tampa Bay troops. The bullpen coach replacing Bill Russell, who was the bench coach, who was replacing Larry Rothschild.
Yeah, once Eiiland got thrown out of the game, immediately they have to eject the manager too. And at that particular time, Russell was the manager, so he's toast.
Let's see if Pedro keeps his wits about him.
What have they had now? They've had Williams, Russell, Rothschild, and they're 4-0. We lead at 4-0. They've had 4 toss. We haven't had anybody yet.
Not a bad deal.
And Jimmy has his fingers crossed that Pedro will just pitch this game now.
You could watch Jimmy talking to him. And Jimmy knows the situation. Doesn't know if necessarily Pedro will listen. And the 1-2 pitch is grounded to Nomar Garciaparra at short. Strong throw to Dahlbach, and he's 1 out. So John Flaherty is retired here in the 3rd, and that brings up the number 9 hitter, Ozzie Guillen. The veteran. He has been around. The shortstop, Nomar, has it on to first. 2 outs.
Well, you know, Ozzie's not going to be up there very long. He generally will swing the first couple of pitches. Doesn't walk very much, doesn't strike out very much. And a ground ball right to Garciaparra. This is how he likes to make the play, on the move. More comfortable probably doing that than staying back on a ground ball.
And back to the top of the order we go. Gerald Williams is gone, and Jason Tyner is in his place. Tyner came on as the pinch runner, replacing Williams when he was ejected in the 1st. Had a good night last night, going 2 for 4 with a double. Sends that one back up the middle, but Lansing is there, and Pedro has another 1-2-3 inning. He has retired 9 in a row since hitting Gerald Williams to start the game. We have played 3. It's 2-0 Red Sox. After 3 complete, the Red Sox have a 2-0 lead. Time now for our Aflac trivia question. See what we have tonight. What 3 Red Sox pitchers have led the American League in both ERA and strikeouts in the same season? Have the answer next half inning. Couple seem easy. Lots of Red Sox fans in the ballpark tonight. Going to watch Pedro and the Red Sox play game 2 of the 3-game series. Jason Varitek is the hitter. He was the only man not to come to the plate in the 3rd. The Red Sox stranded 3, scored 2. Corey Lytle was told 2 days ago that he would start tonight against Pedro Martinez, and he was excited about that challenge. And then last night when he got to the ballpark, he was getting his charts ready to chart the Red Sox hitters, and Larry Rothschild told him, "You're still probably going to start tomorrow night, but I want you to go down to the bullpen just in case we need you in an emergency situation tonight. And if you pitch, Eiiland would pitch tonight." And that didn't happen, and still Rothschild decided to pitch Eiiland tonight.
You know it's going to be good? The papers tomorrow morning. It's always great after something like that. You get comments from both sides, and the way they reacted, obviously, in the Tampa Bay side, they could have some pretty harsh comments, I would think, in that paper.
I'm going to go down and see what they say, so I can get the real flavor of it. Mike Lansing had a base hit back in the 3rd. Last inning, he started the rally. Well, ordinarily, as major league teams play the final few games of the season, Guys are thinking about where they're going when the season ends. They've probably packed up their belongings here and ready to head to their winter home. And if you're not in playoff contention, it's hard to really get up for the game. But I have a feeling the Devil Rays will be up for that series.
See, I don't buy that, and I'm going to tell you why. Today it's a very individual game, obviously, with salaries in the game, you know, and it's you're playing for your salary basically when you're in a team that's not an independent race. Now, understandably, a lot of these guys are signed to long-term deals, and it's a little harder to get motivated. The fact that they're playing teams that are going to be in contention helps, but this is very much an individual game, and you've got to battle it right down to the last day. I don't care if you're 50 games out of first place, because that's how you're going to make your money in this game. And anybody that quits, I don't know, you don't have much use for them. It's still a major league game, and you're still getting paid a lot of money, so you better put that effort forward.
And they will certainly be putting the effort forward come that final 3 games. The memories are long. Lansing hits what could be a double play ball. The second for 1. Cairo on the McGriff double play.
Cairo hasn't been getting much playing time at second base. As a matter of fact, the only reason he's in there tonight is because he had the home run off Martinez last time. But he'll turn it over nicely there along with Ozzie Guillen. How many of you think Ozzie's turned over in his career? He's been around a long time.
Turned a few.
15 major league seasons, I believe, for Ozzie Guillen.
Back to the top of the order. Trot Nixon 1 for 2. Nixon back up the middle for a hit. He's 2 for 3. He likes that leadoff spot.
Right now, he just likes getting hits. He has had a scuffle recently. Ever since coming off to the Sabre list, really has not really got back to the point where he was prior to that. And he'll pick up a multiple hit game here. He's now 2 for 3 tonight. And it's hit now in 4 straight games.
How about the Aflac trivia question? Just so Paul Carroll knows we're thinking about it. Brian Daubach is the hitter, 0 for 1. Of course, he was hit by the pitch last inning. Pedro Martinez is 1.
Does it make Paul angry like if we're not thinking about it?
It does.
Well, then I'm
He has
not
a
thinking
complex.
about it. And I'll never think about another one the rest of the year that if it makes him mad. Because I hear him cackle at me on the, way home and he's in the truck. So if that makes him mad, then I'm not going to think about it the rest of the year.
He's back in Boston now.
Poor
Stewart.
Paul, his family thinks I don't like him. We just kid with him, all the Carrolls out there in the world. We really love Paul. He does a great job.
I don't know if we
just
love him. I don't know if
we
we
do.
love him.
He does a great job, and we're just kidding with him. So for all the Carrolls at home, we're just riding him a little bit.
Pedro Martinez has to be 1. Roger Clemens
You're still on the trivia
is 1.
question.
Yeah, Jerry, come on.
Let the fans
Well, I
get it.
gave him enough time. Gave the fans plenty of time. Down to first, and it's foul. They have the luxury of going to look it up.
I'll say Cardinal did it right in that last shot. Cardinal last year with the New York Yankees as the first base coach, coming down here to Tampa Bay.
Daubach down on the count, 1 and 2. Outside. Daubach struck out on a questionable call, 3rd strike back in the 1st. There you see Cardinal. There aren't many nights when the bullpen coach will be the interim manager.
Well, if we get a few more coaches thrown out, maybe Vince Namoli will suit up and go down and manage the rest of the ball game. Who they got left down here? They got Bill Fisher, of course. There's Vince. Always smiling.
Dahlbach has fought it back full, 3-2. Fights it off again.
Leon Roberts, of course, in that dugout still. He's the hitting coach for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So they still got a few guys to go through before the night's out.
Bill Fisher, Bill Yadger.
Fish doesn't want to manage. I know that.
Oh, wait, Boggs was in uniform tonight, but obviously not in uniform during the game. He was in uniform during batting practice. Again, the 3-2, and Dahlbach sends it to the right side. Cairo right there, and that will retire the side. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 runner left. We have played 3.5, and the Red Sox lead it 2-0. We're back at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Time to answer our Aflac trivia question. We asked what 3 Red Sox pitchers have led the American League in both ERA and strikeouts in the same season. And the answer is Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, and Cy Young. Pedro into his 4th inning of work will face Miguel Cairo, Greg Vaughn, and Fred McGriff. The only base runner to this point was the leadoff hitter, Gerald Williams. 4 strikeouts in the game for Pedro.
That home run that Cairo hit off Martinez at Fenway was on a changeup that stayed upstairs, up and in, and Cairo, his only home run of the season, coming at Fenway Park.
That one misses wide, and Pedro behind at the count, 3-1. Full count, the 3-2 pitch. Into center field, Everett is there. And Pedro retires, a leadoff hitter again. 10 in a row set down by Pedro Martinez.
Some nasty feelings in the crowd here. There's a big Red Sox sign put up. But watch Raymond come by. Now watch this move by Raymond. Oh. And right up over his head.
Well, he didn't get it, though, when they went and they tackled him. Pedro has been the bomb tonight so far. And the bomb that dropped in the 1st inning has set the tone for the ball game. As Greg Vaughn struck out looking his first time up.
Back-breaking curveball there by Martinez.
Bends his knees. Miles an hour. Pedro ahead in the count, 1-2. Tries to blow it by him, get him to chase. He doesn't. It's 2-2. The 2-2, strike 3, got him. 5 strikeouts for Pedro.
Well, if you thought that maybe Pedro would be rattled after what happened in the first inning, I think it has gone in the other direction. He has not been rattled at all. Matter of fact, I think it's elevated his game just a notch here tonight. This is the best fastball that we've seen Pedro have in quite a few starts. I mean, he's consistently 95, 94, 96, right in that area. There's a nasty changeup to McGriff.
The K's are going up out in right field, just not on the wall. They're putting them on the chairs instead. McGriff was a strikeout victim back in the first. Pedro struck out 2 in the first, 2 in the second. At the side in the third on ground balls. And he has 1 strikeout here in the fourth. Tough breaking ball. 1-2. Yes, Lou Merlone sustained a mild concussion during that get-together on the mound. That's why he left the game. The 2-2 to McGriff. Strike 3. Pedro with his 6th strikeout of the game. And he has not allowed a base runner since hitting Gerald Williams to start the first. We have played 4, and the Red Sox still lead it 2-0. And America's pastime tonight here at the Trop has been eventful. There you see the line score. Here's what's on tap. Brought to you by Heineken. Red Sox will close out this 3-game series against Tampa Bay tomorrow night here on NESN, and then home against the Seattle Mariners. Friday night's game here on NESN. Saturday, the national broadcast on Fox, and Sunday and Monday on Fox 25. Carl Everett to lead things off here in the 5th. Everett, Garciaparra, O'Leary against Corey Lytle. Starting pitcher Dave Eiiland was ejected after hitting Nomar after both teams were warned. Lytle came on with the bases loaded and nobody out. And he got O'Leary to hit into a fielder's choice. Struck out Scott Hatteberg looking, and Manny Alexander to line a soft one to second.
You kind of wish the way things were going at that particular time for Eiiland that he was not thrown out of the game. And it has been confirmed that Lou Merlone does have a mild concussion and taken out of the ball game. That's why Alexander now is at third base.
Everett's had a big game so far, the double and the triple. Halfway to the cycle.
And you'd have to think that that concussion happened somewhere in that pileup around the pitcher's mound back in the first inning.
The 3-2. Lifted in the air to deep right center. Back to the wall, and that one is gone. A home run for Carl Everett. And he is now just a single away from the cycle. The Red Sox have a 3-0 lead. What a night for Everett so far.
Oh, is this a shot by Carl Everett? A line shot that's going to get up over that 404 mark in that vicinity and lines it right off some kind of picnic area they have out there. Just a bullet. Number 31 for Everett, and the single away from the cycle, and he's putting on a show tonight for his fans around here in the Tampa area.
Nomar first pitch swinging, fouls it back. Red Sox 3 runs on 7 hits, no errors. Tampa Bay No runs, no hits, no errors. Hard ground ball to second, right at Cairo. There's one out.
Of course, Carl Everett has gone way past his career high 25 home runs a year ago for Houston. Now 31 here with the Red Sox.
And he's basically hit over 300 all season.
And now Everett also with 98 RBIs, so just a couple away. I'm sorry, not 98, 95 RBI now, just 5 away from that 100 mark.
And he has the average back up to 308 with his 3-for-3 performance so far tonight. O'Leary looks at a strike. O'Leary came up with the bases loaded and nobody out in the third. Hit a slow roller to third, and they got the out at the plate. It's got to be a big thrill for Carl Everett to have a game like this here in St. Pete. The 1-2. Just reaches for it and taps it into center for a hit. On the 1-2 pitch, Troy O'Leary fighting it off, and he has a hit.
And generally, when you see O'Leary get a hit on an off-speed pitch, he's usually way out on his front foot. That'll be the case here. The change-up away, one-handed swing by O'Leary to pick up the hit. Plus, O'Leary, a dead fastball hitter. And that time the change-up was up in the zone a little and just something he could get the bat on.
UBE, ugly but effective. He'll take it. Anytime you get a hit, a hit's a hit. Here's Scott Hatteberg, struck out looking with the bases loaded in the third. That could be and should be two. Guillen to Cairo on to first, a double play. So O'Leary's hit goes for naught, but the Red Sox do get a run on Carl Everett's leadoff home run, and we have played 4.5. The Red Sox have a 3-0 lead. Back at Tropicana Field, the Red Sox with a 3-0 lead behind Pedro Martinez, who is still on the hill. This was the first batter of the night Pedro faces, and on a 1-2 pitch he hits Gerald Williams, and then Williams says, "You hit me, I'm going to hit you," and he charged the mound. Gerald Williams was ejected along with his manager. And since that time, Tampa Bay starting pitcher Dave Eiiland retaliated by hitting Nomar Garciaparra, so he was ejected. And bench coach Bill Russell was also ejected. The Red Sox lost Lou Merloni in the exchange as he suffered a concussion during the pileup. Steve Cox, Aubrey Huff, Jose Guillen against Pedro here in the 5th. Another strikeout for Pedro.
Well, this is reminiscent of fastballs that Pedro was featuring in those first 8 or 9 starts of the season. I mean, he is up there. That was 97 miles an hour blowing that fastball by Steve Cox. You see that the dip in the hands, the uppercut swing, and anytime you can throw that high fastball, very little chance of making contact.
Pedro is motivated. Looks a little, Jerry, like the performance he had in the All-Star game at Fenway. Really seems focused and rearing back and letting it rip. 7 strikeouts. front.
Don't forget he had a 17 strikeout game earlier this season against Tampa Bay, but got beaten that game 1-0 by Steve Traxel. Of course, Traxel no longer here.
Traxel now with the Blue Jays. The 2-2. Strike 3 got him. 8 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez.
See, there are times that I honestly believe Pedro can walk to home plate and tell a hitter, I'm going to throw you a changeup, and he can't hit it. And that seemed to be the case there. That swing, that ball bounced in the dirt.
And that brings up Jose Guillen, who struck out looking to end the second.
Hey, you know what's popular down here? Those Yankee stink T-shirts.
Yes.
I've seen quite a few of those over the last 2 nights.
I don't know if it's Yankee stinks, though.
No, it's Yankee stinks.
Okay. Of course, the Yankees have some history here in Tampa, or in the Tampa Bay area. Two and 0 to Guillen. Pedro has not walked a batter. He has hit one. On the corner for a strike.
He hit Guillen in that series at Fenway in that 4-inning performance right before leaving with the sore shoulder. Guillen gets hit a lot.
Swing and a miss.
He's been hit 11 times this year, which is 3rd in the league. Movon at 13, Sweeney 12, and Guillen 11.
Struck out the side 17 times this season alone. The 2-2. He's done it again. The 18th time this season Pedro Martinez has struck out the side, and he has retired 15 in a row since hitting Gerald Williams to start the game. Pedro is in his zone.
And listen to this crowd.
They're behind him as the Red Sox have a 3-0 lead.
Five complete from St. Pete, and the Red Sox have the 3-0 lead. Well, tomorrow night in the front row, Debbie Robleski travels to the island of Cuba to chronicle the journey of local softball and baseball players that had the opportunity to play against some of the top young Cuban athletes. Massachusetts native and former Major Leaguer Mike Pagliarulo helped organize the trip, and Front Row was there to profile the revolutionary experience. Join us at 5 p.m. right here on Nesson. Hags was there. Hags, last thing I saw on him, he was coaching a high school baseball team.
Yes, I believe he still is coaching that team. I want to say Medford, but I'm not sure. Manny Alexander, the hitter. He replaced Lou Merloni, who suffered a mild concussion. The folks back in Framingham know that Lou's okay. It's Alexander, Veritek, and Lansing against Corey Lytle in the 6th. Down the line and just foul. 2-2. Base. Cairo gobbles it up. And Alexander is retired. Jason Veritek walked in the 4th, rounded out to short in the 2nd. Pitch sends it foul down the line and left, and too long of a run for Huff. 1-2. Corey Lytle's pitch inside, 1-2. Strike three, may have been foul tip, hung on by John Flaherty, and Veritek is retired.
Well, Lytle's done a pretty nice job since coming in this game, just giving up that home run to Carl Everett, but other than that, pretty effective, and especially with that off-speed pitch.
Brings up Mike Lansing. Scored the first Red Sox run of the night. He started the third with a base hit. Into a double play his last time up. He hit for the cycle with the Rockies on July 27th. In just 4 innings, that was the quickest cycle in baseball history. Carl Everett tonight just a base hit away. He had a double in the first, check that, a triple in the first, a double in the third, and a home run his last time up. Lansing into short center. That will do it for the Red Sox in the 6th. 3 up and 3 down. We have played 5 1/2 for the Red Sox. Still up 3-0. And back at the Trop, the Red Sox with a 3-0 lead. Just look at the line score and you can see what's going on here in Florida. Pedro struck out the side in the 5th. He will face John Flaherty, Ozzie Guillen, and then back to the top of the order, Jason Tyner.
Boy, he's thrown a couple of those knee-bending curveballs tonight. They give the hit of the jelly leg.
Pedro has thrown 71 pitches to this point. Kind of feel this crowd and get behind Pedro as this game has moved along. The 0-2 swing and a miss. Another strikeout, 10 in the game for Pedro.
And 6 in a row for Martinez. He got Vaughn and McGriff to end the 4th, Cox, Huff, and Guillen in the 5th, and now Flaherty on that curveball again.
Ozzie Guillen, the number 9 hitter. Rounded to short in the 3rd. Pops it up on the infield. Alexander drifts back. He has it. And there are 2 outs. Next batter, 13th time this season that Pedro has hit double digits in strikeouts. Facing Jason Tyner. This is wide. It's 2-0. Miles an hour for a strike.
Red Sox fan. Is that a Yes. Red Sox hat, Red Sox shirt, and got a souvenir in a game that Pedro's pitching.
And pitching a gem. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Lived into short left field. On comes O'Leary. He's right there, and Pedro with another 1-2-3 inning. 18 in a row retired by Pedro Martinez. We have played 6, and the Red Sox lead it 3-0. 6 complete between the Red Sox and Devil Rays. 3-8 no, and no for Tampa Bay. Time for our mobile speed pass. Stolen base leaders. Johnny Damon still on top in the American League. The Shields, Alomar and Henderson. And then in the National League, Luis Castillo has 50. Tom Goodwin and Eric Young both with 43. Mobile speed pass bringing us our stolen base leaders. And Pedro Martinez has brought the heat to Tampa Bay. He has retired 18 in a row since starting the game by hitting Gerald Williams. Red Sox will send a top of the order up against Corey Lytle here in the 7th. Trot Nixon, Brian Daubach, Carl Everett. Nixon, a fine game so far, 2 for 3.
You almost get the feeling that the Red Sox fans here now would just as soon not see the Red Sox hit and just see Pedro pitch the rest of this game.
And I think some of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays fans have been converted. But you couldn't convert that guy. Nixon in his center. Tyner goes back to the track, and that ball is over his head. Trot Nixon hits second. He's on his way to third, and he will have a stand-up triple. Second triple in the game for the Red Sox.
And the 7th of the season for Trot Nixon. That puts him tied for 4th in the league in that category. This is a bomb way over the head of Jason Tyner. Now, Tyner's got great speed out there in center field, but he still can't catch up to it. And Nixon has the leadoff triple. A couple of guys having big nights tonight. Obviously, Pedro, Everett, and Nixon picks up his 3rd hit.
The Red Sox now with 9 hits and already down 3-0 against Pedro Martinez. Tampa Bay will play the infield in. They can't afford to give up another one. And that one behind Daubach.
Now, Jimmy Williams is going to come out and question this because they've thrown at Daubach before in this ball game. They threw at his head earlier. And Jimmy is just wondering why this guy is still in the game, because maybe he feels like he was thrown at him again. You don't generally see major league pitchers throw behind hitters.
And Tim McClellan, I think Tim McClellan has just thrown him out.
Yep, he's thrown him out. Now that means this manager's going to go. See, they threw at Daubach earlier before they hit Garcia Parra. They threw at his head, then they hit him. And it was in a similar situation. It was a 1st and 3rd situation. Something very personal is going on here between the Devil Rays and Daubach. I'm not quite sure what has developed, but we saw Hernandez in the fight really threatening Daubach, or at least speaking to him, pointing at him.
And the question now is, who will be in charge?
Obviously, from the Devil Rays point of view, they're saying, why in the world would I want to hit him now, the man at 3rd, you know, infield in. But it's the 2nd time it's happened to Daubach tonight, and I think McCullen senses the same thing we're talking about, and he's thrown him out of the ball game.
Well, I'm impressed with McClellan to come out. Jimmy Williams came out to argue with the home plate umpire, Kuzi, and while Jimmy was arguing, McClellan kind of walked in nonchalant and told Lyle, "You're out."
This is bizarre tonight. I mean, Pedro starts the game off by drilling Gerald Williams, and since that time, let's see, what does this make, 5 and 6 now? Devil Rays that'll be ejected from this game.
What do you think Larry Rothschild is thinking in the clubhouse?
Oh, he's got to be just absolutely steaming.
I think things may be being broken. Watch the pitch.
Now they want to go inside, but they just get it a little too far inside.
Just a bit inside.
And McClellan feeling that possibly they were going after Daubach again, so he will be ejected from the ball game, and Tony Fiore will be coming on and have plenty of time to loosen up. So let's see. Was Jose Cardinal the acting manager? He was the guy that was out there arguing, so that means he's probably out.
So I think Orlando Gomez now is in charge.
I'm telling you, I think Vince Namoli may be managing before this game's over if it keeps going. Tampa Bay's going to be going, what in the world? This game starts out with one of our guys getting drilled, and we've had 6 guys ejected.
I don't know if the umpires have to find out from the dugout who will be designated as the manager. They must.
I don't think they care at this point.
So once again, the Verizon wireless call to the bullpen goes out because of an ejection. We'll come back with the Red Sox leading at 3-0 and 2 on and nobody out.
Back in St. Pete, this has certainly been an interesting night. The Red Sox have the 3-0 lead. Wake up with NESN Sports Desk tomorrow morning for the latest sports update on television. It's not the latest, but it's the fastest. It takes just 15 minutes to get completely up to date on the entire sports world, with the main focus right here at home with New England sports, especially the Red Sox. So tune in anytime between 5 and 9 a.m. and in just 15 minutes, NESN Sports Desk will get it all. Plus, in the winter, it's mainly the Bruins.
Absolutely.
Heavy coverage, Bruins and Red Sox. Tony Fiore, a longtime minor leaguer, called up just over the weekend when Tanyan Sturtz went on a disable list, arrived about 15 minutes prior to the game, and made his major league debut against Baltimore. Originally in the Phillies organization, signed with the Devil Rays this past offseason.
He comes inside on Daubach. He inherits a 1-0 count. It's 2-0. Trot Nixon, the base runner. He's at third base. Corey Lytle was ejected, did not hit Daubach, just threw behind him. The infield continues to play in. Again inside, and he'll be thrown out of the game. Unbelievable. And here comes the Red Sox players out of the dugout. Manny Alexander is hot. And so is Jose Offerman. And Tim McClellan is pointing at specific players and telling them to get back. Right, Nixon gets in front of him. And Jimmy Williams in the middle of it all.
I'll tell you, one of the hottest guys down there has been Darren Lewis. Trot Nixon made his way into the action.
Oh, and here comes Gerald Williams out of the dugout. Gerald Williams just came out of the dugout for Tampa Bay.
Well, he better get back in there, or he's going to be suspended for a long, long time.
Well, he came out pointing his finger, and somebody just told him, and so he went back down the runway. Jim Rice has a hold of Jose Guillen.
Yeah, he was very active out there. So was Trot Nixon, and so was Darren Lewis.
You see gloves scattered all about the field as everybody came in from their positions to get in the middle of it.
The Red Sox dugout had about enough. I mean, they continued to throw at Daubach, and the Red Sox dugout just led the charge out of there. Now Guillen's still yelling at Trot Nixon across at third base, and you might be dealing with the wrong guy.
I don't think Ozzie Guillen would have much of a chance against
No, it wasn't
Trot Nixon.
not Ozzie Guillen. It's Jose Guillen, the right fielder, and he's been at it with Nixon. Nixon came all the way around back of home plate to tangle with him. And now McCullough trying to calm down Nixon. That's not an easy thing to do. Trot gets excited.
Now Ozzie Guillen is over by Trot Nixon, maybe trying to keep the peace.
Hey, Ozzie's a peacemaker. He's been around too long for this.
Ozzie Guillen telling him, just relax.
That ball hit Daubach, didn't he? He should be allowed first base. I'm quite sure it hit him.
I'm pretty sure it did as well. Cousy wasted no time on that one. I thought we were going to have some major problems when Gerald Williams came out of the dugout.
Rico Brogna is going to go pinch run for Daubach. They've been shooting for Daubach ever since the first scuffle. So he's going to go tag first, and he will be relieved by Rico Brogna.
This is a game that will be remembered this season.
Well, at times it has been absolutely absurd. I mean, some of the stuff that's going on in this ball game tonight. I don't understand what has happened with the Daubach situation. And the Red Sox bench, to their credit, after watching him get knocked down a couple of times and thrown at, they just had enough of it. And they're the ones that led the charge on the field. Jose Hoffman very upset. Darren Lewis very upset. Unbelievable.
Jerry, and he still seems to be kind of nursing his left arm a little bit. So another new pitcher for Tampa Bay. It's the left-hander Doug Creek. So once again, the Verizon wireless call to the bullpen goes out for Tampa Bay, answered by Doug Creek. We'll come back and try to play more baseball here in the 7th inning here on NESN. A lot has happened here tonight at Tropicana Field. The Red Sox have a 3-0 lead as Pedro Martinez has retired 18 in a row. Hit the leadoff batter back in the first inning facing Gerald Williams, and on a 1-2 pitch comes up and in, hits him on the hand, and Williams, yes he does, charged the mound. Luckily Pedro was not hurt. And there's Lou Maloney, by the way, on the bottom of that pile. He's on the complete bottom of that pile. He's left the game since with a mild concussion. Brian Daubach looked like he was hurt. Gerald Williams was just about unconsolable. Larry Rothschild wanted Pedro Martinez ejected. He doesn't get it, so he gets tossed. And he had some choice words for Pedro as well. He was pointing out at Pedro and yelling at him. And Pedro, to his credit, has really kept his cool so far. Key word, so far.
Well, we got a chance to see a cycle right now as Everett steps in against Doug Creek, the left-hander.
Carl Everett has never hit for the cycle in his big league career. All he needs is a base hit. The last Red Sox cycle came back on June 6th, 1996, when John Valentin did it. Swing and a miss.
John Valentin may be at home watching this game tonight. The last guy to hit for a cycle back in 1996 against the Chicago White Sox.
Here comes the 1-1. And Nixon hits it deep to left field. And that ball is not a single. It's gone. A home run. His second of the night. And the Red Sox now lead it 6-0. 4 for 4, 2 home runs, a triple and a double. Carl Everett is having a huge night here at the Trop.
Well, Everett switches around to the right side. Not in the mood right now for the single. He'll hit the home run. His 4th home run from the right side of the plate. His 2nd home run tonight and 32nd on the year. Line drive home run. He is absolutely crushed the ball tonight.
And Nomar swings at the first pitch and fouls it away. And Everett has been the Red Sox offense tonight. He has driven in all 6 Red Sox runs. That ball fouled down the line. Red Sox offense butts open. 6 runs on 10 hits. All zeros for Tampa Bay. And Nomar goes down swinging. Doug Freak is the 4th pitcher of the night for Tampa Bay. Dave Eiiland, Corey Lytle, Tony Fiore, all ejected.
Gonna have to do some snooping around tomorrow and see what the problem the Devil Rays have with Daubach for some reason. And we don't know what happened at the bottom of that pile. It looked like he got hurt immediately when he went down there, and they pulled him out. And then, of course, we have that famous shot of Hernandez lecturing Daubach, and since that time, they've thrown him every time up. Trying to think back at any situation earlier in the season between the Devil Rays and the Red Sox that may include Daubach, and nothing comes to mind that would have caused that type of reaction.
Taking all the way, and O'Leary draws the walk. This game has had it all. Terrific offensive performance from Carl Everett. Goes 4 for 4 with 2 home runs. 6 RBI, his 2nd career 6 RBI game. He did last year against the Expos when he was with Houston, and it's his 12th career multi-home run game. And that right now is being overshadowed by the pitching performance by Pedro Martinez.
I'll tell you what, the fans, and especially the Red Sox fans who have come to this ball game tonight, have certainly got their money's worth. They've seen a little bit of everything.
I wonder, Jerry, if there will be some suspensions handed out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there will. So far, though, I don't see anything major as far as suspension-wise. If they had caught Gerald Williams coming out of that dugout from the clubhouse, that could be a pretty big one. I'm not sure, though, the umpires did see that.
And we do not believe it was caught on videotape either, so he may have gotten away with it. Three and 0. Scott Hatterberg. Sometimes, Jerry, a night like this can really pull a team together, too. Sometimes that can be overrated. Hatterberg lifts it in the air to center. Back goes Jason Tyner. Back to the wall. And at the wall, he makes the catch. O'Leary retreats to first base as Scott Hatterberg sends it all the way to the 404 mark.
Cannot hit it any deeper in this ballpark without having a home run. They've chased Jason Tyner back a few times in this ball game toward that center field wall. Again, that pitch down, and Hatterberg really puts a charge in it. Straight away center field, but then the good speed again by Tyner, and he's able to make the catch right up against the wall.
And with 2 outs, Manny Alexander is the hitter. And Billy Hatcher, by the way, is now the acting manager for Tampa Bay. I wonder what the record is for the most managers in a single game. Larry Rothschild was the manager at the beginning of the game. Bill Russell took over. He was ejected. Cartnell was the manager. He was ejected. And now it's Billy Hatcher. And Alexander puts a charge into it. Deep to left field. Steve Cox on the warning track has it. So that will retire the side, but the Red Sox pick up 3 more runs on Carl Everett's second home run of the ball game. And after 6 1/2, the Red Sox lead it 6-0. Rico Brogna, the new Red Sox first baseman. He came in to pinch run for Brian Daubach, and he stays in the game. And Pedro Martinez still in the game. He has retired 18 in a row. He will face Miguel Cairo, Greg Vaughn, and Fred McGriff. Cairo, one of just 3 players in Tampa Bay's order who have not struck out tonight. Pops it up, foul. Brogna gives it a chase, but it's back into the seats. The most memorable injury during one of those bench clearing brawls, at least from a Red Sox perspective, came back in 1976 when Bill Lee was tackled by Craig Nettles. Lee missed a couple of months. It was May 20th, 1976. Started with a play at the plate between Piniella and Fisk. Check swing. Didn't go. It's 3-1. Popped him up. Jason Varitek right there, and he has it. So on the 3-1 pitch, Miguel Cairo chases. There's 1 out in the 7th.
Varitek on the battle, all that stuff on the on-deck circle, the bat, the donut, the pine tar. Looked like Varitek had a little trouble picking it up out of the dome here, but then finally makes the catch and then steps on the weighted bat. As Brogna will jump over it.
Cairo swung at ball 4. Greg Vaughn has had 2 plate appearances, and he has struck out twice. We are in the 7th inning, and all 10 players who have hit tonight for Tampa Bay still in search of their first hit. Fred McGriff is on deck. Miles an hour. It's 1-2. Pedro looking for strikeout number 11. Not on that pitch. 2-2.
He's got Vaughn to bend his knees a couple of times under the curveball. Let's see if he goes to it here on the 2-2 count. Curveball, I believe, missed outside.
And that runs the count full. 3-2. Coming back with a fastball. The 3-2. Strike 3. Got him looking. 11 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez.
Well, it's common fact that when you are pitching this type of game, this late in the game, that strike zone gets a little bit bigger. Now Vaughn has been thrown out of the ball game.
And teammates holding him back. He came out aggressively. At home plate umpire Phil Cousy threw his helmet in his direction.
Yeah, he gave him a sign far away, then threw the helmet, and he was ejected immediately. You can understand the frustration from Vaughn's point of view, but it's a common knowledge when you have this type of stuff, these type of results, this late in the game, that strike zone tends to get a little bigger.
Jerry, it's amazing to watch Pedro Martinez out there on the hill through all these distractions, through everything that's gone on here tonight. He has kept his head about him.
Take a look at the pitch right here. Strike, questionable call. Vaughn will spin. He'll say something, head back to the dugout, and then will get ejected from the ball game. That's what cost him right there. And then he threw the helmet. He was thrown out when he clapped at the umpire. Then he threw the helmet and he was gone too. And just an ugly night.
But Pedro continues to work. 20 in a row set down by Pedro Martinez. The leadoff batter of the game reached after he was hit. And since that time, Tampa Bay has not had a base runner. There's Fred McGriff. Struck out twice tonight. Beautiful pitch in the corner. 0-2. And the fans here at the Trop getting behind Pedro again. The 0-2. He got him. He struck him out. 12 strikeouts for Pedro. And through 7 innings, the Devil Rays still looking for a base hit. We have played 7, and the Red Sox lead at 6-0.
Seven complete. The Red Sox have the 6-0 lead here in St. Pete. We remind you this copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Boston Red Sox may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Boston Red Sox.
What a night here in St. Petersburg, Florida. August 29th, 2000. Pedro Martinez has retired 21 straight, and he has a 6-0 lead as the Red Sox hit here in the 8th inning. Jason Varitek, Mike Lansing, and Trot Nixon against left-hander Doug Creek. Varitek 0 for 2 tonight, grounded to short and struck out. And Pedro will be sitting alone in the dugout for the rest of this game.
You can imagine the frustration on the part of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in this ball game tonight here in their home ballpark. They had the game start the way it did. They've had how many people ejected? I don't know. What is it, up to 7 now? 7 or 8? The fans right now are totally behind Pedro Martinez and the Red Sox. They obviously having big time difficulties getting a base runner. It is just
Not a good night.
horrible for the home team.
It's not good. 8 people have been ejected for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Pedro Martinez, kind of like Lou Ferrigno in The Incredible Hulk. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And he has just zoned up. And he has been unbelievable. Varitek down on strikes. So we know one thing opposing teams shouldn't do. Don't get Pedro upset.
Fastball right by Varitek. He has struck out for the 2nd time tonight, but his main responsibility right now is behind that plate, completing this game for Martinez.
And Jerry, you made an excellent point. I think everybody, us included perhaps, would rather not see the Red Sox hit at this point. They have enough offense. I guess all that matters now is give Pedro a little bit of rest between innings. And let's still see if Carl Everett can get another at bat. Well, he'll definitely get one more at bat, a shot at the cycle. Mike Lansing has a hit in 3 trips. Popped him up. Short right field. And Guillen is there. Two outs.
And at this stage of the game, too, everybody that plays behind Martinez is a little bit nervous. They want to be able to make sure they can make the play.
Everybody on edge now here at Tropicana Field. And that man has had a terrific night. 4 for 4, 2 home runs, a double, a triple, 6 RBI, 2 runs scored. But so far that man has overshadowed what Carl Everett has done.
Obviously, those Devil Ray fans that remain here tonight are still not real happy with the umpiring in this game, to say the least.
Nixon 2-2. What a great game he has had. 3 for 4. Fouls that one back here. Just over the press box. The 2-2. Outside, ball 3, 3-2. Rico Brogna waits on deck. I don't think, Jerry, that many fans here will be leaving early. Check swing. Foul ball down the line. Another 3-2 pitch to Trot Nixon. Comebacker. And Creek has it. And that will retire the side. The Red Sox go in order in the 8th. And that means Pedro is ready to pitch the bottom of the 8th as Tampa Bay is still looking for their first base runner since Gerald Williams was hit to start the game. The Red Sox lead it 6-0. Pedro making short work of his warm-up tosses. He's ready to go to work here in the 8th inning. Facing Steve Cox, Aubrey Huff, Jose Guillen. Cox is 0 for 2. He struck out in the 5th. Flew out to left field in the 2nd. Sends one down to first base. Brogna has it, and there's one out in the 8th.
Rico Brogna going in a couple of innings ago for Daubach. At this stage of the game, he'd probably be in there anyway defensively. Tough to tell. I thought he caught this ball in the air, sinking line drive, but instead I guess it was trapped as he just took it at first base himself.
And here is Aubrey Huff. Huff into center, but right to Carl Everett. He'll catch this, and there will be 2 outs in the 8th. 23 in a row retired by Pedro Martinez. Jose Guillen 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts.
Well, they're swinging too. They're going up hacking at those first pitches.
And the chant now goes out for Pedro. Fouled away. To this point in the game from Pedro Martinez. The 0-2. He struck him out. 13 strikeouts for Pedro. And he has retired 24 in a row. And he will go to the 9th. With something very special working here in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Red Sox lead at 6-0. Oh boy, 9th inning. 6-10-0 for the Red Sox. 0s for Tampa Bay. And Pedro Martinez is all by himself on the Red Sox bench. He has had that look tonight.
Billy Taylor coming on to work the 9th inning for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And interesting, he'll be facing the guy that beat him at Fenway Park, Rico Brogna, with the game-winning grand slam.
by the way, the Yankees are in Seattle tonight. That game out on the West Coast. Oakland is at home against the White Sox, and Anaheim plays host to Toronto. All that action later tonight. Right now, the focus here in Tampa Bay, or in St. Petersburg.
Billy Taylor, been around a long time. A lot of minor league years for Taylor, and of course spent quite a few years with the Oakland Athletics. Was a closer for the A's for a couple of seasons.
Reaches for that one, slaps it down the left field line.
It was a breaking ball that Bronya hit off Taylor for that game-winning grand slam back at Fenway Park on the last homestand.
Rico Bronya, Carl Everett, and Omar Garciaparra. In the dirt.
Due up in the bottom of the ninth will be John Flaherty, Ozzie Guillen, and Jason Tyner, the center fielder. 8-9-1.
Offensively, the only thing left really for the Red Sox is the man on deck, Carl Everett. And that's ball 4. So Bronya walks, and that brings up Carl Everett, the offensive story for the Red Sox. He has driven in all 6 runs. He hit a solo home run in the 5th, and in the 7th inning hit a 3-run blast. He is 4 for 4. 2 home runs, a double, a triple, 2 runs scored, and 6 runs batted in. Needs the base hit for the cycle. And he sends it high and deep to right field, but that one will stay in the park. Didn't get all of it, as Jose Guillen takes it in. So he will fall short of coming up with the 250th cycle in Major League history. There have been 249 cycles and 222 no-hitters. They used to say it's more rare to see a cycle than a no-hitter, but that has changed over the past decade or so. There has not been a no-hitter in baseball this year. Garciaparra has had a tough night at the plate. 0 for 3, and he was hit by a pitch in the 3rd. And that started retaliation, but Nomar goes back up the middle for a hit. Bronya puts on the brakes. He'll stop at second.
Quickly got ahead of Garciaparra, but then gets on top of the fastball and just past the dive of Ozzie Guillen for Nomar's first hit in the ball game.
And that brings up Troy O'Leary, 1 for 3 tonight. And base hit in the 5th. And O'Leary laces one into right field. Bronya's being waved in. He will score. Nomar stops at second. O'Leary has an RBI, and the Red Sox lead it 7-0.
O'Leary picks up his second hit of the night. He'll climb right all over that plate and get that fastball, drive it to right field. O'Leary picks up his 52nd RBI in the year. He has come an awful long way since coming off that disabled list. Average-wise, RBI-wise,
7-0. 2 on and 1 out for Scott Hatterberg. Hatterberg is 0 for 4. In there for a called strike. 2-1. Tale of 2 dugouts tonight. In Tampa Bay's dugout, frustration and anger, and in the Red Sox dugout, anticipation for the 9th inning. To the bottom of the 9th. That one's fouled back into the seats. The count hangs at 2-2. He's hiding a little bit. Garciaparra, the runner on second. Troy O'Leary at first. The 3-2. Lays off, ball 4, and they're loaded up.
Well, honestly, we're thinking about the big prize tonight for Pedro, and I would prefer to see a quick inning here on the top of the 9th as opposed to something that drags on like this. The longer he has to sit around, obviously he doesn't like that. He's got the runs.
You'd almost take the double play ball at this point. Danny Alexander, the hitter, is 0 for 3 since replacing Lou Merlone. That one into the hole at short. Guillen has 1 play and he goes to third. Red Sox get another run, and they exchange that for the out. It's 8-0.
Nice play by Ozzie, as the only option he had was to go to third base. The play is in front of him. Not going to get a double play anywhere, so just take the lead out. Red Sox do get another run on the board to make it an 8-0 ball game.
Little pop-up off a third. Over by the stands. Huff has it, and that will retire the side. Red Sox score 2 runs. They increase their lead to 8-0. And now we go to the bottom of the 9th as the Red Sox need 3 outs to close this one out. And with the line score being what it is, we will keep it right here. Fans here at Tropicana Field stand in appreciation of Pedro Martinez, who has retired 24 straight, 12 strikeouts in the game.
Well, we talked, Bob, throughout the ball game about Pedro tonight. This is the best fastball that we've seen him have in a long time. He's used it a lot tonight, and obviously that has helped his other pitches become effective also.
Jerry. Every guy out there has to have some butterflies. You were involved in a no-hitter, I believe.
I've been in a bunch of no-hitters, both on the side of the no-hitter and also had a few against me, actually more against me. And from a fielder's point of view, you sense this thing starting to happen around the 6th or 7th inning, and with each inning that goes by, your legs get a little shaky. You want to be the guy that's able to knock the ball down, get an out, try anything just to get that out. And it is nerve-wracking on everybody. Flaherty, Ozzie Guillen, and Jason Tyner, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
John Flaherty is 0 for 2. Grounded to short, and he has struck out. We'd like to welcome those viewers watching on ESPN. Pedro Martinez has retired 24 straight since starting the game by hitting Gerald Williams, which started a bench-clearing brawl. This has been an eventful night at Tropicana Field. Bob Rogers alongside Jerry Remy. 1-1 fouled back here. 1 and 2.
And we've seen Pedro do that a lot over the last couple of innings. Get ahead of hitters and throw that high fastball that has consistently tonight been 95, 96 miles an hour.
The 1-2. Checks his swing. It's 2 and 2.
There it is again. He tried to get Flaherty to chase it. Just as nervous as anybody is Jason Varitek behind that plate. He wants to make sure he puts down the right fingers here in the 9th inning.
He has called a terrific game here tonight for Pedro. His brother Ramon watching on. The 2-2. In the right center field, and that falls for a hit. John Flaherty breaks up the no-hitter.
Pedro fairly well throughout his major league career. Came in over 300, and he'll break it up on the high fastball. The pitch that has been so effective tonight for Pedro. Flaherty will get to it and put the line drive in the gap in right center field.
And the fans here at Tropicana Field acknowledging Pedro. And now Guillen in the left field. Troy O'Leary has it 1 out.
El Guapo, just in case. Look at the amount of fans that turn around and leave in the ballpark after the base hit.
All that was left to see would be to see if Pedro could get the no-hitter. He was looking for the 15th no-hitter in Red Sox history. The last one was Dave Moorhead against Cleveland on September 16th, 1965.
From the crowd every time there's been a pitch close to a Red Sox hitter. A Devil Ray pitcher has been thrown out of the ball game, and every time Pedro has come close, they want him ejected.
Now they've turned on Pedro. They were with him, now they're against him. He has thrown 108 pitches. Popped him up. Manny Alexander right there. 2 outs. has yet to throw a no-hitter in his career. He has come close a couple of times. He retired 27 in a row and losing a perfect game when he was pitching with Montreal at San Diego. That one line to Nomar, and that's the ball game. A brilliant performance by Pedro Martinez, a one-hitter. John Flaherty's base hit in the 9th inning, and that was it for Tampa Bay. It's his 4th career one-hitter. On a very emotional night and a very eventful night here at Tropicana Field. Just a terrific performance by Pedro Martinez. 12 strikeouts, no runs, 1 hit, 12 strikeouts. He did not walk a batter. He hit 1. That was the first batter of the night. And a big smile on his face as he maintained his concentration and his composure. Everything that happened here tonight. And we'll see if we can get Pedro to say a few words after one of the most brilliant performances of his career. Carl Everett certainly a big story here tonight as well, as he goes 4 for 5, 2 home runs, a triple, a double, 6 RBI, 2 runs scored. Just an amazing night here at the Trop. And Pedro Martinez receiving congratulations from his teammates. To correct his line, it's no runs on 1 hit. He strikes out 13. Pedro is getting set to join us here on NESN on a remarkable night here in Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Florida. And Pedro does indeed join us down on the field. And Pedro, what a remarkable night as you maintained your composure through everything that went on here tonight and turned in just a remarkable performance.
Well, thank you. It was hard, but I thought the game was more important for us to win, and staying in the game and just doing what I was doing to me was more important than going out there and trying to fight this guy.
Pedro, it seemed to me tonight that you had a terrific fastball in this game. We were clocking it up here. Everything was 94, 95, 96 miles an hour. It looked like maybe the best fastball in the last couple of outings.
Well, after the game in Kansas City, I felt pretty good after the 4th inning, and I felt like I could let it go. And this time, from the starting of the game, I had a good seep on the fastball, so I kept using it.
Pedro, did you seem to feed off of everything that happened? They were trying to get to you, trying to get you rattled, and you just didn't let that happen. Did you feed off of all that emotion?
Well, they just get the best out of me. And when they do stuff like that, I'm not trying to hit anybody. I'm not trying to hit Gerald Williams in a situation like that, just starting the game. I'm just focusing on trying to win the game and help my team. But if they, I mean, in any other situation, I'm sure I would have responded differently. But right now, we can't afford to have anything else happen but just win games.
Pedro, we saw Jimmy Williams talking down the bench, and I'm sure that's the message he was trying to get across. And that's something you understand yourself. You know how important at this stage of the season games are, how important you are to the Red Sox, and they need you on the mound.
Well, he left it up to me whether I wanted to do something or not, and I said I wasn't going to do anything unless my teammates, felt like we had to do it. And I asked a couple of players. They said, let's just go and win the game, and there'll be some other days. And I did that, and even though it was hard to see my teammates just get hit after hit and not being able to do anything. I mean, we kept the composure and we won the game, and that's what's important.
Pedro, one last question. When you're sitting in that dugout and you know how close you are to pitching a no-hitter and you're getting down to the last, when do you really start to think about that as a pitcher?
I don't really think about it, Jerry. I just try to go out there and win the game. I said if I'm going to give up a hit, I much rather give it up with a fastball than any other pitch. So once I got ahead of anybody, I just wanted to throw the fastball because, to my understanding, was the best pitch tonight.
Congratulations.
Pedro, nice
congratulations. Outstanding performance by Pedro Martinez. Thanks for joining us, Pedro.
Thank you.
Pedro Martinez, a one-hitter, gives it up in the 9th inning. 13 strikeouts for Pedro as the Red Sox blank the Devil Rays 8-0. And Red Sox baseball will continue here on Nesson with Tom Caron after this.
Well, it's always hot in Florida this time of year, but it was a hot night for baseball indoors at Tropicana Field. A remarkable night on a one-hitter from Pedro Martinez as the Red Sox beat the Devil Rays 8-0, evening up the first 2 games of this 3-game series 1-1 and going back to 500 on this road trip, which wraps up tomorrow night in the 3rd game between these 2 teams. But obviously the big story tonight, the one-hitter from Pedro Martinez, the 4th of his career. He tried to become the 15th pitcher in Red Sox history to pitch a no-hitter in the first since Dave Moorhead did it against Cleveland at Fenway Park back in 1965. He would have been the first to do it on the road since Bill Monbequette back in August of 1962. But if fans of the Red Sox think back of certain times in big seasons that solidify the fan base and maybe bring the team together, certainly you think of Billy Rohr back in 1967 in April. He threw a one-hitter that was broken up with 2 outs in the 9th. Well, tonight it's broken up with no outs in the top of the 9th by a former Red Sox catcher. But maybe this is the type of game that will bring this team together and get them all charged up for the stretch run. Everybody charged up at Tropicana Field tonight. Even the mascot ripping the Red Sox sign out of the fans' hands. Bottom of the first batter up, Gerald Williams, hit by Pedro Martinez, and this is how it all got started. Williams thought about it for a couple of minutes and then decided to charge the mound. He goes at it against Pedro. Everybody comes out full speed, and there were bodies flying here, folks. Boomer Loney, a low-grade concussion down in the middle of all that, had to leave the game. Now, watch Roberto Hernandez on your right side. He's pulling Brian Daubach out of the pile, and lots of words for him. Pedro, okay, he stays in the game. Obviously, Larry Rothschild ejected, as is Gerald Williams, and they would soon have many, many friends watching TV with them in the clubhouse. Still the bottom of the first, Pedro stays on and stays sharp. He strikes out Fred McGriff to end that first inning. And then in the 3rd, a little bit of harbinger of things to come. Dave Eiiland throws over Daubach's head. Next pitch will come in and hit Daubach. Now at that point, the umpires decide that it was unintentional, so Eiiland doesn't get tossed. They'll get another chance later. Next batter, Carl Everett rips one down the line and right. Mike Lansing, Trot Nixon score. The Sox are on the board 2-0. Big night at the plate for Carl Everett, maybe overshadowed by Pedro's heroics on the mound. Nomar Garciaparra, the next batter, gets hit in the elbow. Eiiland gets tossed. He yells at the bench. Nomar just smiling a bit as he trots out to first base. And Eiiland is tossed where he joins his manager and Gerald Williams, and 8 players and members of the coaching staff tossed before the night is over. Then Everett cranks the solo home run to center off Corey Lytle, his 31st of the year. At this point, a triple-double and a home run for Everett. Bottom of the 5th, Pedro K's the side. Steve Cox swinging, Aubrey Huff swinging, and the tag, and then Jose Guillen swinging. And the Sox fans at Tropicana Field, the snowbirds and maybe some vacationers, are into it as they sense that this could be a special night indeed. Top of the 7th now, Lytle throws behind Daubach. Lytle is tossed, and the next pitcher is Tony Fiore. He steps in with a 1-0 count on Brian Daubach. He will hit Brian Daubach, and the benches are emptied. As we said, 5 players, 3 members of the coaching staff tossed. Fiore upset, Fiore gone. Brian Daubach, after getting hit there, would leave the game. Rico Broni comes in. Look at Brett Saberhagen, the veteran, right in the middle of it, keeping things cool. The next batter is Carl Everett with a chance at the cycle. Forget about it instead. He hits the 3-run homer. 2nd home run of the night for Everett. 6 RBI for Carl Everett. Bottom of the 7th now, 2 outs. Pedro strikes out Fred McGriff to end the inning. Bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Jose Guillen up. Pedro strikes him out. Swinging. 3rd time in the game that Guillen strikes out. 13 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez. But in the 9th, going up against former Red Sox catcher John Flaherty, that chain around Pedro's neck broke. So he has to put it in his pocket, and maybe that just was the little something the Tampa Bay bat needed to get one up on the board. A base hit there from John Flaherty breaks up the no-no bid. The no-hitter is now a one-hitter. Pedro Martinez took it into the ninth but couldn't finish it. He does finish the game with a one-hitter, the fourth of his career, as Miguel Cairo lines it to Nomar to end the game. So a memorable win for the Red Sox, 15th win of the season for Pedro Martinez. The fourth career one-hit game, as we said. Carl Everett had a chance for the cycle, but you'll take 2 home runs instead. And John Flaherty, the former Red Sox catcher, the only Devil Ray to get the hit. So again, shades of Billy Rohr, if you will, back in 1967, but this is one the Sox will be talking about, and their fans will certainly be talking about as we enter the stretch drive. Nice way to get ready for that stretch drive in September, but they've still got one more to go. And as we go back to Bob and Jerry, a lot of tempers are hot tonight, but what a performance both at the plate from Everett and on the mound by Pedro, guys.
All we can say, Tom, is wow. Pedro Martinez, through all the distractions tonight, kept his composure and turned in one of the most brilliant performances of his career.
Well, I was trying to think, you know, I did the game last year in New York when he pitched that terrific game against the Yankees. He gave up the 1 home run to Chili Davis, and this was very similar to that outing, maybe even a little bit better tonight. The only thing they would put last year's ahead of this, it was the Yankees that he did it against. But, you know, to come out in the first inning, hit somebody, and then have the whole team want to kill you, and then be able to stay composed after that and pitch the type of ball game he did tonight, that shows you a little something about Pedro Martinez. And, of course, on the other end, the performance by Carl Everett, you can't overlook that. That was also outstanding. So, you know, I can't wait to read the papers tomorrow morning. It's going to be great. There's going to be comments from, obviously, the Devil Rays, who this has been a long, frustrating night for them. And there's still 4 games left with Tampa this season. They could be very interesting.
And a very important win for the Red Sox. I'm actually going to go down to the Tampa Bay locker room. I don't know if Jerry's going to come with me.
No, I'm not.
All right, I'll go by myself. I'll get protection, though, Tom. Great win for the Red Sox tonight. They really needed this. Pedro Martinez, simply terrific. Back to you.
Hide your pass. That says you're the Red Sox broadcaster before you head down there. Thanks, guys. Great job tonight. What a great game down at Tropicana Field. And the Sox have taken 2 out of 3 in each of their first 2 series with the Devil Rays. A win tomorrow night with Jeff Fassero going on the mound would keep that streak alive. Right now, of course, a half game back of Cleveland in the wild card race. Cleveland winning 6-0, and the Yankees are off to an early lead, 2-0. They lead in their game out west. So right now, it doesn't look like the Sox will pick up any ground, but hey, they don't lose any ground, and they've certainly got one to talk about with the one-hitter from Pedro tonight. Time now for our Coors Light Silver Bullet Blast update. The Sox, we should say Carl Everett, hit a pair of home runs tonight. So Richard Perkins of Winchendon, Mass, and Marge Shubley of Pepperell, Mass, have won $50 gift certificates to Chili's, courtesy of Coors Light and Nesson. Congratulations to Richard and Marge. Congratulations to Pedro Martinez. Came 3 outs away from the 15th no-hitter in Red Sox history, but the Red Sox will certainly take the one-hit complete game shutout win as they win this one. The final score for the final time from Tropicana Field in St. Pete, the Sox with 12 hits, the Devil Rays with 1 hit, and the Sox with an 8-0 win. The series wraps up tomorrow night. From the Trop, we get it going with the Red Sox Digest at 6:30 here on Nesson. This has been an exclusive presentation of Nesson, your ticket to Boston Red Sox baseball.